Welcome to Why Splatoon Is Rad, a video focused solely on my new hyperfixation, this funny squid game, Splatoon. Today, I am telling you how the focus on diversity has changed this game's community. Instead of your typical shooter game, like Call of Duty or Black Ops, that's the same series, Splatoon's community, and thus the game itself, emphasizes acceptance, expression, and pride. Yeah! It's hard to tell you just how quickly Splatoon blew up. See, this game was being released during the Wii U era, which is Nintendo's lowest point in modern history. While consoles like the PS4 and Xbox One were gaining sales, the Wii U sold 13 million consoles throughout the course of its life. For context, the PS4 sold that in its first year. No big deal. And yet, despite releasing on a horribly selling platform that was gonna die within a year or so, the franchise became a best-selling IP, next to the likes of Mario and Sonic and Steve. That's not a joke, by the way. Splatoon 3 sold 3 million copies in its first weekend, being the fastest-selling game Nintendo had ever made up to that point. So how exactly did this game explode in popularity? First, we need to look at the game itself. Splatoon is the first shooter Nintendo had ever made, and the way they went about it is genius, to say the least. Instead of focusing on kills and deathmatch-style competition that every other shooter does, you're inking as much turf as you can. And if you get tired of turf war, there's 4 perhaps more generic, competitive modes to play. There's your typical capture the flag, but the flag is a golden fish gun. Perfect. There's tower control and splat zones, which are both the same idea of taking over a spot and holding it for long enough. And then there's clamblets, which I can really only explain as squid football. Maybe that's because there's footballs in the mode, who knows. That's not all though, there's also a hero mode campaign, which is where you're traversing levels to find and return the great Zapfish. The third game especially does a really good job at contextualizing the campaign and making it feel like a part of this world. Splatoon 3 is also the first game that made its campaign good. That, mixed with the online modes and the unique weapon designs, from guns to splat rollers to windshield wipers, makes this truly a different shooter game from the major names. Personally, I'm glad they changed things up. Can you see Nintendo making a Call of Duty game? Let's just say I'm glad we got the silly squid game instead. Alright, now on to the autism creature, harmony-infested world of the Splatoon community. Because of the aesthetic of this game, from the alt-inspired clothes to the rock and EDM that characterizes and fills Splatsville, different groups are attracted to it than your typical Call of Duty enjoyer. In particular, those who are LGBT, people of color, and neurodivergent people have found Splatoon to be a comfort of sorts, where they can be as expressive as they want. Even simply going into the fabled social medias and searching Splatoon, you'll find plenty of autistic and gay kids making fan art and writing headcanons and finding comfort in the game. I think part of that is because of the idols. Off the Hook are the idols from the second game, and personally, they feel like aspects of the community, like a fan's character was shoved in the game. It's not just the idols either. Harmony, who is the shopkeeper in Splatoon 3, is practically confirmed to be autistic, and many people with autism gravitate towards her because of that. Hell, one of the storylines of the game is about Inklings accepting Octolings that quite literally came up from the ground out of nowhere. There's so many hints of representation in this game, and so much so that it isn't all that surprising that this became a hub for minority expression. This diversity doesn't just stay in the generalized community of Splatoon. As with most other shooter games, there is a competitive scene. In Splatoon especially, it is filled with minorities. When you look up different videos to watch about the game, you'll get a lot of different creators. 2 of them are ProChara and Dude, some of the best players in the world making analysis videos about new weapons and maps as updates come out. They also stream regularly, so go check them out. And you know what? There is plenty of diversity in just these creators. Dude is a person of color, and they're very well represented in the community. Jmoji and CJ Hyperfresh are other examples of popular players that are people of color. They don't even play competitively, they just make fun content about the game. From Jmoji's Splatfest montages to CJ's challenge and salmon run videos. There's also Chara, who is autistic, and he isn't alone either. While he is the predominant creator, possibly in the whole community, he is accompanied by Spore and Hidorisu, two competitive Splatoon players who are also on the spectrum. It's amazing to see so much diversity, not just in the main player base, but the influencers surrounding it. Truly an amazing thing, and a standard that other games should strive for. Finally, I want to talk about how culture is represented in Splatsville. In Splatoon 3, we were introduced to Deep Cut. This trio is the new set of idols for the game, the leaders of teams during Splatsfest and the guys on the news! Compared to other idol groups, there is plenty new with Deep Cut. There's 3 of them. Big Man isn't even a squid kid, he's a damn manta ray. And they're bandits in a time of anarchy, much different from the pop duos of old. That's not to say that Squid Sisters and Off the Hook are inferior by any means. I'm just saying Deep Cut is just so very different, and it's great. A wonderful example of this, I believe, is Anarchy Rainbow, the background music you're hearing right now. The 3 idols represent different cultures in the game. Shiver represents traditional Japanese, Fry represents Indian, and Big Man represents Brazilian and Southern American. These wildly different cultures meant together in Anarchy Rainbow, in what I believe to be the most artistic representation of anarchy ever. It's not mindless chaos and violence, it's a perfect mixing of culture and community. It's beautiful. Wait, I can't be crying, this is a video. Well, hopefully I convinced you to check this game out. Seriously, if you want to try something new, and especially if you're looking for a welcoming community to join, I cannot recommend Splatoon enough. You won't regret it. I have around 80 hours of this game, and I regret none of it. And if you want to join the competitive scene, go watch Chara and Dude's videos, and check out Splatoon Stronghold. There is so much in this game that people rag on without knowing it, and so even if you don't play it, just acknowledge it, and be awe-inspired at the expressionism and diversity that this game has, even if it gets weird from time to time. That's it. I'm gonna go now. See you in 9 months!